Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our wildcard video going into game week 30. Whether you're wildcarding or not, hopefully it will give you some insights and some help into making general transfer decisions at least. And if you are new to the channel, please do support subscribers. Greatly appreciate it, especially as we get into the latter stages of the season. Sometimes the interesting fantasy league drops off a bit at this stage if your team's not doing as well as you would have hoped for, but we power on, and thank you for all the support on the channel so far. So let's get into it. We are going to try and keep it within 5 minutes this video, and we're going to start with the defence, and we'll talk about De Gea. He does actually have, as well as the double that's just gone that you've just kind of missed out on, he does still have another double and a game with Chelsea still to add in. Very popular keeper among players that are fantasy league players that are still playing the game. It does kind of have those good fixtures and those good save percentages, which are going to get him those extra points here and there. We've also got Chilwell. Whilst they don't have any doubles, they do have that Man United game that needs to be rearranged, although that game is still away. They do have mixed fixtures, but Chilwell is very attacking at the moment. Actually had a goal disallowed in this last game week for a foul. So he is in the box, and it was actually an attacking header. So the fact that your left back is winning attacking headers in the box kind of just speaks to that positive sort of attitude that they've got in that sort of position at Chelsea. And on another day, he could have had another goal to add to his tally so far this season. I've gone with Tyrone Mings as one of the centre backs. Villa are on really good form, and they've actually had clean sheets in 4 out of the last 5 as of recording this video. Mings has also picked up bonus points in each of those clean sheets. So when Villa do get a clean sheet, which is more often than not, um, he is involved in the bonus points as well. He's still only 4.4 million and only 5.9% owned. So he's a super value defender. He's not like you need to find the transfer funds for him. In fact, he's probably going to help you to get in more expensive players elsewhere in your team. So it's a bit of win-win. I've still got Trippier in from Newcastle, and Newcastle do have good fixtures and a game against Brighton still to be rearranged, so that could be a double there. Trippier, whilst him and Newcastle have gone off the boil a bit, they are still in the fight for top 4 places. So I wouldn't back against them kind of rediscovering a bit of form. They've been missing Nick Pope a little bit as well. They've not always had sort of the first choice defence out recently. I think if they can get those back 4/5 players out consistently, they should be able to keep clean sheets again. And with a few players returning from injuries and illness, I think that's entirely possible. The final defender on this team is Luke Shaw, a bit like De Gea, and a combination of De Gea and Chilwell, really, in the fact that he plays for Man United. They've got good fixtures, and he is attacking like Chilwell as well. Luke Shaw has had his fair share of bonus points this season as well. So if Man United are performing, there is a chance that he could be on for an extra one or two. Into the midfield we go, and I've got a three-person midfield here. I'll start with Salah. Liverpool have great fixtures past game week 30, and whilst I wouldn't go for like a defender like Trent or Robertson just yet, I do think that Salah historically, apart from last season, he does tend to finish the season very well, and I wouldn't, back against him having the potential to finish strong this season. He's just scored against Man City away, which is a great sign for him personally. And I do think he is, a bit like Newcastle. Liverpool are chasing top 4 um, places, and whilst that looks quite difficult after the loss to Man City, they're not going to give up on that. A lot rides on that top 4 places, and Salah is still the main guy there. I've gone for Harvey Barnes in the middle rather than James Maddison. Whilst Leicester aren't in form, they do have great fixtures coming up, and we're starting with Bournemouth in the next game week. Barnes, I think, is better value than Maddison. They both have 6 goals and 9 assists, I believe, or 9 goals and 6 assists. Either way, it's the same for each player. But Harvey Barnes is 1.6 million cheaper, which can enable you to get in other players elsewhere. I think there's a lot of hype on Maddison, but I don't quite see it. Not really contributed much for a while now. So I would go for Harvey Barnes. I do think he is more likely to get a goal off the wing. I still got Rashford in this wildcard team. I think Rashford is someone that you still need to have. He is, you know, whilst everyone's had an international break, if he picks up the form that he had before the international break, he's a must-have. I think he's also so highly owned that if you don't have anyone else that you desperately want to get in, you might as well just hang on to Rashford. You've probably got him already. I think if Man United are going to do well towards the end of the season, like we say, they've got good fixtures. He is going to be a big part of that. Onto the attack, um, to finish off the starting 11, and I've gone with Ollie Watkins here. He is just a confident striker at the moment, and he's taking his chances really well. Just scored against Chelsea. He's actually got 8 attacking returns in his last 9 game weeks. He's not really scored double digits this season, but he does offer that steady stream of points, just keeps it ticking over. And if your striker's scoring you 1 goal every game week, I mean, if all of your strikers were doing that, you'd absolutely bite the hands off, wouldn't you? So whilst it's not gonna get those big hauls, those attacking returns consistently every game week shouldn't be underrated. Still got Haaland. I think, whilst his fitness is in question, if he is fit, he'll be playing. People are kind of, transferring him out, or they have transferred him out. A lot of people still have a plan to bring him back in. I think that Southampton game, if there is a chance that he is fit and can play, you do want him in. I think if you're wildcarding this game week and then you're planning on bringing Haaland in a couple of weeks to see if he's, when he's properly fit, you might as well bring him in now, unless there is someone like, I don't know, Bruno Fernandes, that you want to replace one of your midfielders with. You maybe want to upgrade someone like Harvey Barnes to Bruno Fernandes, and you want that money from Haaland. I would say if that is the case, and you do want Haaland back in later on, just have a think about how you're going to make those transfers work over a couple of game weeks. If you plan them pretty well, you should be able to do it without taking a hit. I mean, we've still got triple Man United on here, so I do feel like there is ways of covering those Man United players without necessarily getting in Bruno Fernandes and having big hitters elsewhere. I've still got Tony as well. Brentford actually have mixed fixtures. They've got Newcastle, Man City, Chelsea, Spurs, and Liverpool all to play before the end of the season. Starting with Newcastle this game week. But he is a good player who's scoring goals. People are a little bit worried about the yellow card. We've had this before in fantasy league where players are 1 yellow card away, and so you don't get them, but then they don't get a yellow card for like 10 game weeks. And it's really the case of, as a striker position, he should know that he's only got he only has a few more game weeks to go before those sort of yellow cards reset. Um, and he should know that he doesn't necessarily have to make the tackles that are going to get him a yellow card, really. As a player, he should be able to manage that sort of situation. So I do think you have Ivan Toney until there is a problem and until he does get suspended. If that does happen, really, I think, otherwise he's always going to be 1 week away from getting a yellow card. Um, but if he's still scoring goals every game week and he's still playing, you know, any player can essentially get suspended for yellows or reds, as the season goes on. You've just got to react to it when it happens. Um, Onto the bench we go, and I've got, a pretty good bench, I think, really here. Got Iverson in goal for Leicester and Castagna as a Leicester defender as well. I think they're good rotation pieces. Leicester, whilst they're not on form, they do have good fixtures. I think Bournemouth at home is a great fixture. Um, for Leicester. Everson, although he's just scored an own goal, that's not going to happen every game week. I've still got an Arsenal midfielder in there as well. Gone with Martinelli as the cheaper option. Whilst the fixtures aren't great, I do think that Martinelli is someone that you can, get in as Arsenal are top of the leagues still. And I think if you've got a team that's top of the league, you really should have at least one player in, regardless of who they're playing, because they've shown, especially at this stage of the season, that they are good enough to be top of the league and offer a threat going forward. Martinelli still looks like he's got his place in the team. He might get the odd rotation, but the bench in this team is strong enough to cover that, I think. Um, and rounding off, we've still got Mitoma in our team. Brighton still have potentially 3 more double game weeks to add in, with Newcastle and Man City games still to be scheduled. And whilst these are difficult fixtures, it does make sense to keep a player or two from Brighton. I think Mitoma still offers great value. I think he is someone that is scoring consistently. I do think he is, whilst people might say, March and McAllister are great options as well. I do think Mitoma is actually producing on a more consistent basis and does look more of a threat. But you could really pick your Brighton midfielder from any of those three, I think. So this is the wildcard team. Sorry, I did say earlier on it'd be 5 minutes. It's gone over 10. Um, but hopefully it's helped you and it's offered some different players and different ideas that maybe you haven't thought about. So if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. Like the video if you get a chance to. It's really appreciated. And I will see you in the next one.